In the 25 years since the handover, how have media freedoms in Hong Kong changed?
I think the answer to that is that they have changed not just slightly, but enormously. And I would say in my experience, I've been a journalist for a long time. I haven't really ever experienced a circumstance in which media freedom has declined quite so rapidly. If we flash back to 1997, the year of the handover, Hong Kong had a very vibrant media. All shades of opinion were represented. You could read a pro-communist newspaper, you could read a pro-democracy newspaper, you could read a newspaper that was neither one nor the other. So in the first, say, 2 decades, you could say, I think with some confidence, that the media was still free. It was still functioning in the way you would expect it to be. Of course, there were gradual changes. I mean, there were changes of ownership, particularly in TV stations, putting them in the hands of mainland Chinese owners. What has happened, and it happened with amazing speed in the last couple of years, was virtually all of the independent media outlets have been shut down. There have been arrests of journalists. The opportunities for making Hong Kong an international media center have diminished very considerably. I mean, nobody is seriously considering basing correspondents here when they could put them elsewhere.
Is it still possible for independent, critical journalism to take place in Hong Kong today?
That's a very big question. And my first instinct is to say that, yes, in a very limited sense, I think it is still possible. Is the situation in Hong Kong better than it is on the Chinese mainland? I would argue, but I wouldn't argue very forcibly, that it is better. There are possibilities for reporting and for independent journalism that certainly do not exist on the mainland, but that sets the bar very low. I mean, nobody seriously believes that the status quo as it exists today, when we're talking on the 25th anniversary of the handover, will be the same situation as it is next year, because the crackdown on freedom of expression has been relentless and ruthless. So I don't think it's that job is finished.
What significance should we draw from what's happened to Hong Kong, and what effect will this have on the rest of Asia?
China has no longer shown itself to be a reliable partner, so that other countries in the region, or indeed in the world, who are doing business with China, and by that I don't just mean commercial business, I mean political business with China, have to think very carefully about whether the agreements that they are signing with the People's Republic of China are worth the paper they're printed on. Because what China was promising to do was unique among dictatorships. There is no dictatorship in the world that ever promised a one country, two systems formula for part of its territory. It was a very bold thing to do, and Deng Xiaoping, who was the initiator of this, was widely credited with this remarkable achievement in having devised this plan, which incidentally was devised for Taiwan, not for Hong Kong. But having made this enormous initiative, which was filled with promise, China has basically reverted to form and has done what the Communist Party always does. Where it has power and control, it ruthlessly exercises it. It doesn't fulfill its promises.